Look at any man's face on the street today. Chances are, somewhere on his jaw, there's hair. Thick, coarse, deliberate hair. But look at the rest of his body. Almost bare. Smooth. Nearly invisible fuzz everywhere else. Humans supposedly lost their fur millions of years ago. So why didn't the memo reach the chin? The real answer is far stranger than you'd expect. Start with a myth. You've probably heard it. Humans went naked, evolutionarily speaking, stripped down to bare skin somewhere in our deep past. Complete and total fur loss. A clean slate. That's not quite true. You actually have almost the same density of hair follicles as a chimpanzee. Nearly the same number, spread across your entire body. Most of it just became thin, short, and nearly colorless. Scientists call it vellus hair, the fine fuzz you barely notice on your arms and back. So the real mystery isn't why humans lost their hair. It's why some hair stayed thick, dark, and deliberate, while the rest faded into near invisibility. And nowhere is that more obvious than a man's beard. Here's the detail that should catch your attention immediately. Beards only grow densely on men. They appear specifically at puberty, triggered by androgens, hormones tied directly to male development. That's not a random biological accident. That's a pattern. And evolutionary biologists read patterns like that as a signal shaped, deliberately, by selection pressure. Charles Darwin noticed this over a century and a half ago. He proposed that traits like beards weren't there for survival in the traditional sense, not for warmth, not for protection from sun or cold. He suspected something else entirely: sexual selection. Traits that exist not because they help you survive, but because they help you win, socially, competitively, reproductively. Does that sound uncomfortable? It should, a little. Because it means a huge part of what makes a man's face look the way it does wasn't designed by nature to keep him alive. It was designed to send a message to everyone looking at him. So what message, exactly? Researcher Barnaby Dixson has spent years studying exactly this question, running experiments where people rate faces, some bearded, some clean-shaven, some digitally altered to isolate the variable. And the results are consistent across many of his studies. Bearded faces get rated as older, more mature, more dominant, higher status, not just by women evaluating potential partners, by men too, evaluating potential rivals. Pause on that for a second. A beard doesn't just say, "choose me," it says, "don't mess with me." Two completely different audiences, two completely different messages, both delivered by the exact same patch of hair. Now here's where the story gets genuinely strange. In 2020, researchers at the University of Utah, led by Ethan Besseris, Stephen Nailway, and David Carrier, decided to test something almost nobody had seriously tried before. Could a beard actually protect you in a fight? They built model jaws, layered them with sheep's wool fiber to simulate a full beard, and struck them with a controlled, repeated impact, testing how much force reached the bone underneath. Then they compared it to identical models with the wool removed. The bearded models absorbed noticeably more impact. Less force reached the simulated skull. In a species with a long, documented history of male-on-male physical conflict, that's not a small detail. That's a possible survival advantage hiding inside what looks like a purely cosmetic feature. So which is it? Attraction, intimidation, protection. The honest answer, the one most researchers will actually give you, is that it's probably not just one. Human traits rarely evolve for a single clean reason. A beard might simultaneously signal maturity to a potential partner, project dominance to a rival, and cushion a blow during a physical confrontation, all at once, all shaped by the exact same tangle of hair. What's genuinely still unresolved and worth sitting with is how much of this is really about attraction at all. Studies on women's actual preferences for facial hair are surprisingly inconsistent. Some find strong preference for beards. Others find almost none, or even a slight preference against them, depending on culture, context, and even how recently a woman has seen bearded faces around her. That inconsistency is part of why researchers can't simply say beards evolved because women like them. The story is messier than that, and messier stories are usually the more honest ones. There's also a clean answer researchers have ruled out entirely: Temperature regulation. If beards existed purely to keep a man's face warm in the cold or shaded from the sun, you'd expect them everywhere, on everyone, regardless of sex, and you'd expect consistent thickness regardless of hormone levels. That's not what the evidence shows. Whatever a beard is doing, it isn't primarily a thermostat. Think about what